LA, they were my buy team last week, Carm. They played very well, but they did have a weaker schedule. They're plus 110 now against Minnesota, who's minus 130 at home. What are your thoughts here in this matchup?
Hey, first, I'm going to look at the total here, but I'm not going to play the total. And then I'm going to tell you who I like in this game. This is quite possibly the polar opposites when you come to teams with totals. I've talked about Minnesota and being a very good under team this season. You look at Minnesota in their last 10 games, they're 8-1-1 to the under. In their last 10 home games, they're 8-1-1 to the under. And then you look at the LA Kings. The Kings are 8-1-1 their last 10 games to the over. And going even a little further back, their last 15 games, they are 11-2-2. So how you decide to bet the total is predicated on who you think is going to win the game and who's going to dictate the game. And with that said, I like Minnesota here. I think this is a good buy low price on Minnesota. I get it that the Kings have won 4 straight games. That was a good victory for the Minnesota Wild against Nashville, who pressed back at them in that game. And it's back-to-back wins for them after they beat the Dallas as well, too. I just look at, Andrew, when I look at this, I'm looking at who the Kings have been beating, and it's just kind of a strength of schedule thing. They come off of wins against the Arizona Coyotes where they blew a 4-goal lead. They led 5-1 and had to win it in overtime 6-5. They beat the Anaheim Ducks, who everyone's beaten up on. They beat, before that, the Buffalo Sabres in the first game of that trip. And then you look at it, they beat the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are on the second of a back-to-back and a tough scheduling spot. Before that, they lose to the Canes. They lose to Tampa. They're playing a good team here and a good defensive team in Minnesota. I think the 130 is justified here, and I think I'm going to take Minnesota in this game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look at the schedule and you see that it has been a lot easier for the LA Kings. Maybe they are still a good team, but things have definitely been a little bit easier for them as far as their opponents. Buster, 4 straight games for the Wild have been decided by 1 goal. What are your thoughts here in this matchup?
Well, Andrew, it almost looks like Carmine came in and stole every note that I had, because I totally agree with everything he said, which, we've been doing this a long time, and this might be maybe the second or third time that has ever happened. But yeah, I like Minnesota as well. I know LA have won 4 straight. They've won 7 out of 9. But as Carmine said, and I have it here, the 4 straight games, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Anaheim, Arizona. And I think it hurts them that what happened. They blew that 5-1 lead in Arizona, and they had to beat them in overtime. I think that hurts LA tonight. Like that's just a bad mental mistake that they cannot make tonight, or Minnesota will beat them. Minnesota's been playing all right, like you said, Andrew. They seem to be playing close games, overtime, shootouts, almost every game. They have won 3 out of 5, and I've been really, and I think I've probably mentioned this on the show a few times, I've been waiting for this Minnesota team to go on a run. It seems like, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I'm really waiting for them to go on a run. They've won 2 in a row, and maybe this is where it starts. If they get this game tonight, makes it 3, and then they have a favorable schedule. They get to play Columbus twice, Vancouver, the Islanders, and Toronto. Yeah, they could beat Toronto, no problem. So maybe they win 4 of those 5, and now all of a sudden they've won 7 out of 8. So maybe this is the time that this Minnesota club, because they are really good. I think their goaltending is still suspect, like a lot of teams in the NHL, but they have a very nice club. And I will mention about the total for people who want to bet the total. I'm right in agreement with Carmine. This game could be any type. And it's even shown. The 2 games that they've played this year, 7-6 and 1-0. If it can be any type, it can be any type. And Carmine mentioned LA's been really good on the overs. They're 11-1 the last 12 after a win. They're 5-0 the last 5 on the road to the over. And then you look at Minnesota. I had a bunch written down that Carmine mentioned, but I'll mention this one that he didn't. They're 13-2-1 to the under at home. Can't bet this total, period. I can bet Minnesota.
All right, Buster, looking towards Minnesota at home here, minus 130 current price If I was to play this game, which I do not think I will be, guys, I would look towards the under. But as mentioned, it's tough to bet the under these days in the NHL in general. And when these two teams are involved, well, those two score lines that Buster just read out are probably the reason why I'll stay off this game, because we haven't seen any kind of consistency as far as their totals are concerned. That's for sure.